What's up, traders? Chris Capri here, SecondSkiesForex.com. So, doing a slightly different video for you here today. This is on an email I got recently from somebody who was considering joining one of our trading courses. And it was a very interesting email because we had a very good back and forth. And it's the type of email actually that I get a lot. And I'm willing to bet that for every 1,000 of you that are watching this video right now, that probably 60, maybe 70% have had a thought like this or a thinking process like this, or even believe that this is what was needed to move forward and have written about some of these same experiences yourself. So I'm willing to bet a lot of you who are watching this right now can easily relate to at least what is said in this first email. And so this exchange is very interesting because over the exchange, they are able to make a shift. And that was what I was hoping for. I was really trying to probe them to see if they could be open minded enough and aware enough to make that shift. Because if they didn't, then to be honest, I'm not sure I'd want to work with this person, or at least someone who just thought in this kind of very, I don't want to say freshman, but more naive way about trading, inexperienced way about trading. And so I was really trying to probe them. I didn't want to give them that whole rah rah, yeah, you should just sign up for this one. This is all you need and you'll be fine. No, I actually wanted to challenge them just to see if they could make that shift. And if they did, then great, I want to work with them. And if not, then maybe, I'm not the person to work with. So I'm glad that we were able to do that. But I want to kind of go through this because I'm willing to bet that you're going to probably find some sort of familiarity and recognition that you have thought or are thinking like this, that this is what you need to succeed. And so I'm going to kind of read through this kind of brief email exchange we have back and forth. So this way you can kind of get an idea of this is how I relate to my students and this is kind of the approach I take. And, maybe that's interesting to you, maybe it's not. And if it is, great, come work with me. If not, no big deal. But I kind of wanted to give you an insight into how I work with potential students. I'm going to read through the email, the names, the last name and email address is obviously protected for them for privacy reasons. So let's jump into it. He says, "Hi, I see you currently offer 3 courses and I'm unsure which one to choose." Very legitimate question. "Currently, I would say I am a break-even trader who lacks discipline. I feel I know how to trade but suffer from common defaults such as overtrading, revenge trading, etc. Many of you have probably had that same experience." So he's, and lacks discipline. And I'm willing to bet many of you probably feel like you lack discipline when it comes to trading. So this first line is great. He's really open. He's really vulnerable here. He's expressing some of his weaknesses or things he's got to work on. And he's expressing something that I get a lot from a lot of people. I would probably say 70% of the emails I get are very similar to this in terms of things that people need to work on. He continues, "I've been with apiary trading for around a year and made it to the 1K funding level. To progress through the next funding levels, I need to be constantly profitable, with smaller losses than gains, have a positive expectancy, and more winners than losers. My current job, I sometimes have 2 to 3 full days per week to trade both the London and New York sessions. And then we see a pivot here, which is very interesting. I need to be shown a day trading method which is consistent and profitable. What would you recommend? Thanks." So first, let's just start off with the beginning part where he says, "I would say I'm a break-even trader who lacks discipline. I feel I know how to trade but suffer from these common defaults." So he's starting off and he's admitting very openly he has troubles with the mindset and the trading psychology. He lacks discipline. Even though he knows he should be, he lacks it. And then here is something interesting he says. "I feel I know how to trade, but suffer from common defaults such as overtrading and revenge trading." This part right here in this second sentence where he says, "I feel I know how to trade." The thing about trading is, and this is very important to understand, is that conceptual knowledge does not equal skill knowledge. And trading requires skill knowledge, skill-based knowledge. And I don't mean the ability to understand what you're supposed to do. He's saying, "I feel I know how to trade." In other words, he's saying, I conceptually know I should do this, I should do this, I should do that, but I lack discipline. And I suffer from these common defaults such as overtrading or event trading and so on. It's very important, and this is something that a lot of traders come to trading with, struggling traders come to trading with, and maybe you've experienced this yourself, that you know what the right thing to do is, but you can't do it. And you know that you're not supposed to risk more than X% and you do it anyways. And you know you're not supposed to revenge trade or trade outside your plan, but you do it anyways. Why is that? Because the reason why that is that there's a huge gulf between conceptual knowledge and actual skill-based knowledge. Conceptual knowledge is just knowing the pure data and facts of what you're supposed to do. but that doesn't mean you can actually do it. Great example I had on this is, so I've been skiing for 25 years of my life. I would consider myself a pretty darn good skier. First time I went snowboarding, I was feeling pretty confident because I had confidence on the mountain, I had experience on the mountain, I understood what it is to ride an edge. Even though snowboarding's a little bit different, you're going down the mountain at a different angle, you only got one edge versus two. In skiing, you got two. In snowboarding, you got one. I felt like, okay, I can handle this. And they're telling me all these things I'm supposed to do. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. And my brain had experience with it in skiing, but I didn't have that experience in snowboarding. And what I was doing is I was relating to snowboarding from a conceptual place, not an actual experiential or skill based. Didn't even have the muscle memory. So I get off the chairlift. I barely make it off the chairlift. And I go about 5-10 feet and I fall down. And then I go another 5 feet and I fall down. And I go another 5 feet and I fall down. I eat shit like all day. Why is that? Because I was relating to snowboarding as if conceptual knowledge was all I needed to actually go down the mountain, not the actual skill, not the muscle memory, not the wiring in my brain. Your brain 90% of the time will do what it's most dominantly wired to do. And it's important to understand conceptual knowledge is not a dominant wiring system, and it won't create a dominant wiring system in your brain. It doesn't create habits. It's not skill-based knowledge. It's not skill-based experience. So you could know conceptually what you should be doing, but you've probably had that experience that you know what you should do and you aren't able to do it. That's the difference between habit and concept. For something to become a habit, or when something is a habit, it has to be dominantly wired into the brain. Until it is, it's not a habit. Until you can do it on a subconscious level to where you don't really need to think about it, you just kind of do it automatically, it's not a habit and it's not a skill. And that's a very big gulf. The good thing is that the brain, you can pretty much wire anything into the brain. There's a story of an 80-year-old woman who's like 81, 82, 83 years old. She learned how to fly a plane. The people in their 70s and 80s who have learned new foreign languages. Brain can learn new skills. You can learn how to trade. That is a neurological fact of your brain. The problem is that most likely you weren't wired to do it. And so a lot of people think taking a course and watching a lesson and saying like, oh yeah, I can spot that pattern. Oh yeah, that pattern makes sense to me. But can you do it automatically in real time with your money on the line? While you're in the middle of a trade, while you're up or down 4 or 5 or 6 figures. The difference between concept and habit in that situation is very wide. And it's important not to relate to trading as a conceptual based endeavor. If you do, you'll never wire habits in. You'll never be able to do the things you need to in the moments that matter the most. So in the beginning, he's admitting that he has this kind of conceptual knowledge, but he lacks the habits and the subconscious wiring in his brain to do it. He lacks the discipline to be able to do things when you need to the most. So this is very important. The second sentence is not really too important for us, but then at the end there, he says he pivots. So he starts off admitting that he has mindset and trading psychological issues that he needs to rewire and change. But then at the end, what does he say he needs? I need to be shown a day trading method which is consistent and profitable. And when I saw this, then I felt like, okay, that's an interesting pivot. He admits openly that he has some challenges on the mindset side. He lacks discipline, and yet he thinks that the thing he needs to make it is to be shown a day trading method that is consistent and profitable. So here is my response to his email. So I say, hello, James. I said, this is a very interesting email. On one hand, you say you need a day trading method which is consistent and profitable, yet you say you suffer from common defaults like overtrading, revenge trading, lack of discipline. So I'm trying to bring to his awareness the juxtaposition between these two things. Saying you need one thing when you're admitting that you have these other problems, which can affect everything you do in trading. I'm trying to bring this to his awareness. And then I continue. With that being said, why do you think a profitable day trading method which is consistent is your ticket to success when you, in your own words, lack discipline, overtrade, and revenge trade? I'm really trying to get him to question his line of thinking and see if I can bring, this kind of overall inconsistency to his awareness. And then I ask him, I said, and for that matter, where do you think consistency comes from in a trader's performance? Let me know so I can point you in the right direction on what I think would be your best path forward. So I'm really trying to kind of put it back about him. I'm trying to get him to think about his own situation, because I think if he was totally aware, he wouldn't have put those two sentences in the same email. I lack discipline, revenge trade, overtrade, am inconsistent. All I need is a profitable day trading method. You wouldn't put those two together if that awareness was there. So then he responds, and I apologize for the screen. This is just the screenshots I took, so I apologize if it gets smaller. He says, Chris, thanks for the response. You have made a valid point. I enjoy day trading and don't think trading off the daily charts would keep my levels of interest up. I have to treat this as a day job, if you like, being flat at the end of the day with profit to show for that day's work, which is interesting because this statement really isn't addressing the question of what I was really asking it. But he's kind of giving some information about, hey, if you are going to recommend to me something, can you recommend to me something like this that would be workable for what I'm looking to do? In the second sentence, he addresses this. He says, regarding consistency, I would say you would be consistent by first using the trading method in which you trust, having a good R to R ratio, risk to reward ratio on every trade entered, and continuing employing the same system even after a few losses, as you know in the long run that the system will be profitable. This second statement is very interesting. He's saying a method in which you trust. And he's saying that, well, I know a trust if I have data, if it has good R to R, and I know in the long run it's going to be profitable. This is very interesting. He's basically saying that if I could be shown a method that I know will make money in the long run, I'll trust it. But if you lack discipline, and that is dominantly wired into your brain, and that comes out while you are trading, then it doesn't matter whether you have a system which is profitable or not. That discipline is going to come out, or that lack of discipline is going to come out. Just like if you have bad spending habits now and can't save money now, when you start making $1 million a year, those same spending habits are going to be there. That's why about 83% of all people who win the lottery are broke within 3 years, because they don't have the habits and mindset at that moment in time to be able to manage that, to be able to save, to be able to spend wisely, to make good decisions. It doesn't matter whether you have a little bit of money or a lot of money. Those habits are there. They don't go away just because all of a sudden you get a lot of money. That's why 83% of all lottery winners are broke within 3 years. If you don't have it before you win the lotto, you're not going to have it when you win the lotto. He's thinking that, well, if I win the lotto in terms of a trading system, well, then I would be consistent. So it's very interesting. He hasn't made the full pivot yet. And so I'm going to press him again. I said, hello, James. This is an interesting response. So do you think consistency comes from, and this is where I'm trying to kind of, through metaphor and examples and parallels, trying to get him to think differently. I'm really trying to challenge his idea on where he thinks consistency comes from. So I ask him, do you think consistency comes from having a proven diet to keep the weight off? Or comes from having a proven weightlifting routine to add muscle? By using a different kind of example or arena, I can reflect the same thing back to him, or I can reflect something back to him without using trading. And I kind of add on to this, and I'm saying many people, probably the majority of people who have tried proven diets and proven weightlifting routines ended up not losing the weight or gaining muscle, and yet they were proven. So I'm really challenging his idea about, well, if you have something proven that will make money in the long run, then you're just going to be consistent. On top of this, I kind of share my experience because I've shown students in my courses methods that are statistically, quantitatively proven will work, and yet they still couldn't trade statistically to match those results. Even though I could give them all the hard data they wanted to. This makes money. Here's the stats. Here's everything you need. It didn't make a difference. If that was all that was needed, then they would have made money. But again, the majority didn't. And so I'm trying to reflect this back to him. So then I ask him again, after kind of sharing these examples, do you really think consistency comes from a system? The reason I ask is I'm trying to point out something you may be missing about trading. Let me know. And now he starts to make the pivot. Chris, thanks for the response. Regarding your question, I do believe good traders could take almost any system and make it profitable, and bad traders could take the same system and blow their account. So he's starting to recognize that maybe it isn't so much the system, maybe it comes down to skill and mindset. Bad traders could take a winning system and lose money on it because they lack discipline, they revenge trade, they overtrade, whatever. So now he's starting to make this shift. And at the end, he says, I suppose it's down to discipline and patience. Taking only the trades with the best chance of success, with low risk potential and plenty of room for profit. Now, best chance of success is kind of illusory in trading because we're only working with probabilities. There's no certainty. So we can only stack the probabilities with some sort of clarity. There really isn't a perfect clarity to, probabilities in trading. Yeah, we could have a lot of evidence, but markets change. We could have a lot of data, but markets evolve. Volatility changes. Environments change. And so probabilities are really kind of a moving target. There are things you can do on a price action level or contextual level of analyzing the pricing that you can put things in your favor. How much? There's some room for argument there, and it's not a fixed point, but it's kind of a moving target. There has to be some sort of uncertainty and unclarity about it, and I think that's what frustrates traders the most. Regardless, the first part of his last sentence is, I suppose it's down to discipline and patience. So now he's come back full circle and he's come to the point I wanted him to come to, which is that he's recognizing discipline and patience, or in other words, part of his mindset is going to affect everything that he's going to do in trading. I kind of brought him back to his original statement, which was good that he mentioned it, where he said, I lack discipline, I overtrade, I revenge trade. This is good because there's some sort of unconscious intuition here that there's something wrong with his trading, and some of it has to do with his mindset. But then his conscious mind or his conceptual mind takes over and thinks, oh, well, I just need a good system. Now I've kind of been able to take this kind of unconscious intuition that he had and now bring it into his awareness. And now that it's in his awareness, not just as a concept, but he's starting to kind of realize, wait a minute, okay, my mindset has a much greater role on my performance in trading than I really thought. That I could have this great system, but if I'm a bad trader who lacks discipline and don't have the mindset right now, I haven't wired the successful mindset in, well, then it doesn't matter. And this was the point I wanted him to get to. Once he got to this point, I felt like, okay, we can work together now. Like I'd want to work with you because you're open-minded enough that you're willing to see things a little bit differently than you are now, and you're going to need to see things differently than you are now if you want to make money. If you are not making money and you've done lots and lots of trades and it's been months, maybe years, the way you're thinking and the way you're wired right now is not sufficient to make money. If it was, you'd be doing it. You will consciously think in the neurological activity and the thoughts you have and the emotions you experience and how you relate to those emotions and how you manage risks and drawdowns and losing streaks and winning streaks. The bottom line is that the majority of time your brain is going to default to its most dominant wiring. And if that wiring is sufficient for you to make money, then that's what you're going to do. I've talked about this in a prior video that elite athletes and performers, it's not that they overperform in clutch situations, it's that they make less mistakes. And because of that, they are outperforming everybody else. And so that's the difference between an elite performer or a successful performer and a non-successful performer, is that those winning traders, those winning mindsets, those people who are high achievers, who succeed in their chosen endeavor, they make less mistakes when things are on the line. And let's admit it, when you're trading, a lot of times there's stuff on the line that pressures your emotions, that pressures your ability to maintain discipline, to not overtrade, to not revenge trade, to really do the things that you need to do to get ready for trading, to be prepared, to fill in your journal. There's a lot of things that are on the line. Your financial month-to-month abundance or lack thereof. And that can have an immense psychological pressure. Elite performers are able to manage that pressure because they've dominantly wired it into their brain how to manage that pressure. And it's not a huge secret. It's not something that is some Da Vinci Code like thing. You don't have to be Magnus Carlsen, the youngest chess champion with the highest ranking of all time, to succeed in trading. You just have to learn to wire these things into your brain. And you have to understand and have a level of awareness of how much your mindset and your brain and your emotions affect your performance. Because you could be handed the lotto, but 83 out of 100 of you that have just been handed that are going to be broke in 3 years. That's a reality and fact that is unavoidable. Actually, it is avoidable. You just have to change the way you think, trade, and perform. With that being said, I want you to really think about that original email from James and think, okay, is there some part of you that recognizes that trading psychology, your emotions, and mindset has an effect upon your performance? If so, that's a great start. But have you also believed or thought or carried the line of thinking that, all I really need is a consistent method, proven, and then I can trust it. Then I can feel confident. Then I can really make decisions. I want you to really think about that. Have you approached trading that way? It's a very interesting line of thinking because it's basically saying, until I'm in the World Cup, I'm not going to train like an elite soccer player or football player. But once I get in the World Cup and get on a winning team that I know can win the championship, then I'm going to start performing like an elite player. It's a very interesting line of thinking that all of a sudden you'll just kind of flip a switch and somehow you'll do things that your brain is not currently wired to do. I want you to really challenge yourself and see if you have really felt this same way. Because if you are, it's okay. You're like 80 to 90% of the people that come to me that, haven't trained with me before. A lot of people think that way because the brain, thinks in certain ways. It thinks in very predictable patterns. It works in very predictable ways. There are thinking styles that are very repeatable and predictable and patterned. And you can see that once you kind of learn those patterns and get exposed to a lot of people. And I have through trading. I've gotten thousands of emails like this. And there's so many things and there's so many emails that repeat themselves. Ask yourself and challenge yourself, where are you in this kind of spectrum of thinking about trading, success, mindset, discipline, and all these things? So with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's a different video that kind of gives you an insight into me, into how I approach trading differently, into how I kind of really approach the mindset differently. I don't know of a single person in the industry that has my unique combination of experience, who's worked on Wall Street as a broker, who's traded for the hedge fund, who has been studying neuroscience for 20 years with a focus on human performance, peak performance, and improving learning and memory, who's done yoga and meditation for 16 years, who's done a 1-year meditation retreat. I don't think that makes me special. I don't think that makes me some sort of genius or anything like that. But I do think it gives me a unique experience. And I think that allows me to communicate with you and help you progress through things in ways that other people can't. Our goal at Second Skies Forex is very simple: to change the way you think, trade, and perform. And I guarantee you that if you are this person who is like James, when you come to train with us and you take a training with us and a program with us, you really do the work and you really take the training on, and you will not be the same person when you come out. You will see trading differently. You will see your mindset differently. You will see price action differently. You will, you'll ditch the whole idea of trading with confirmation. You'll really understand what it is to build skills in risk management and positive expectancy. You will start to see the charts in a completely different way. You'll see your mindset. You'll see your brain in a different way. I have people wanting to teach these mindset things in my courses to their kids because they see, holy cow, this is a completely unique approach and way to think about your brain and your mindset, and not just trading, but success. And not just success in trading, but life as well. So if that's interesting to you, come check us out at secondskiesforex.com. And if you have questions and you're interested in working with us, just go to my contact form. The message will go directly to me. I'm the only one who answers that. And then we can start to have a conversation and see if there's a way we can work together. Because if you're willing to be open-minded and you're willing to really work at this and challenge your mindset and your thinking, then that's the kind of person I want to work with. If you're just looking for 1 and 2 bar candlestick patterns and you really don't have much interest in building your price action skills or learning how to read context beyond a pin bar or something like that, if that's what you're wanting to do, then there's 1,000 other people teaching the exact same thing. Carbon copy, cut and paste. It's the same thing. There's plenty of people out there. Go have at it. But if you actually want to learn real price action skills to where you can learn to read the order flow and price action context in real time for any instrument, for any time frame, for any environment, you really want to change the way you think, trade, and perform, then check us out at secondskiesforex.com. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it provoked some thoughts in you. I hope it was interesting. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and make sure to comment below what your thoughts were on this and what you got out of it and what reflections you have upon this, about yourself, about trading. I really want to know. And if there are other videos and topics you would like a video on, definitely let me know. I'm really interested in engaging my community more, continually expanding my engagement with my community. So until then, I bid you adieu. I wish you good luck in trading in life, and I will see you in the next video.